Hi everyone, welcome to week 5, our second to last week of class. This is flying by. This week in week 5, we're going to be looking at a few more of the federal disability categories that are listed in the IDEA. We're going to be looking at other health impaired, often referred to as OHI, emotional disturbance, referred to as ED, and autism spectrum disorder, which is commonly referred to as ASD. So this week, first stop should be looking at your readings and multimedia. You have some information to read and to watch. There are strategies for teaching students with emotional behavior disorders. There is some information about a book that I think is fabulous called The Story of Autism. There are 2 videos and a website for you to explore. And if you have any interest in autism, I would highly recommend reading the book. It looks like a giant book, but it's actually a really fast read. It's not dry at all. And then there's also stuff for you to look at the National Autism Center at the May Institute. And if you are using the textbook at all, chapters 8, 9, and 10 will be what you're looking at. There is also one more simulator for you to try, and it's a simulator for ADHD. So keep in mind that you're going to also have to go back to your notes for your assignment this week for the 2 simulators you did in week 3, which was auditory processing and dyslexia. So remember, you're going to be looking at those 3, and I'll get into that in just a minute. So for our discussion this week, I want you to think about a quote from Stephen Shore. And it's, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. I want you to think about what that quote means to you and put it in the context and the information that you learned about autism this week and any other additional research that will support your thinking. Make sure that in at least your initial response to the prompt, you have references and citations so I can see where you're making connections to your learning. And I think it would also be interesting if you even thought about the perspective of a person with autism hearing that quote. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion this week and you're thinking about that quote. This week, as I just mentioned, you're going to be looking at all the simulations that you've done. So you're going to be looking at connections, making connections between students with learning disabilities, auditory processing disorders, dyslexia, for example, and ADHD. And then I want you to create something called a mind map. If you haven't done this before, please don't let it intimidate you. What it is it's just you putting on paper how things are connected. So if you want to find out more about mind maps, if it's something that you haven't done before, you can certainly Google mind maps and there's tons of information. I also have a link in the assignment for some free mind mapping software at mindmap.com that you can use. Or you can, some people think better with pencil and paper. You can do it on a piece of paper and send me a picture. That's fine. But please don't overthink it. Make sure you have adequate detail in your mind map. So again, I can see the connections to your learning. So you're going to have references and citations. What you should do is do the in-text citations as you usually would, and then submit as a separate document with your mind map, your references. I think that the students that have struggled with this assignment in the past, it's usually because they're thinking very hard about the right way to do it. And it isn't so much a right way. It's really putting, again, your thoughts down on paper visually and connecting them. Some people actually do a section for each simulation and then make the connections to your learning with that. And typically it's done with like bubbles and lines going to the other bubbles. Hopefully I didn't confuse you more by trying to give you that description. But again, you can certainly Google mind maps and go to that website if you need any other support. So we're week 5. We have this week and one more week to the class. Just to let you know that the course evaluations will be coming out relatively soon. I'm really asking for you to take a few minutes of your time to complete them. It's anonymous. I don't know who has done what. All I will know is how many people have responded to the course evaluation. Just like I send you feedback every week on your assignments, Your feedback about my teaching and about the course is super important to me, and it helps me in that cycle of continuous learning too. So I can be a better teacher, I can present the information in a different way. So your feedback really does impact how I teach, and I really appreciate it, and I'm appreciating you in advance for doing that. If you have any questions, drop me a line. I'd be happy to set up a time to chat. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week 5. Take care.